All right, welcome inside Mosley home studio. We're riding out the storm. Everything's fine. Storm's over. There's no real wintry mix coming down, but everybody's still kind of no school. Folks are just snowed in places. People having trouble flying. We got a whole group of our friends coming back from Colorado. And they can't get out. They can't get out of Denver. So just literally had to rent a car and driving home. And Kev, that whole, I think, two or three, about three cars in a caravan of high school kids coming back this direction, all listening to the Mosley show, as they should. As they should. That's the best kind of education you can get out there as they're huddled around their iPhones instead of listening to music or, doing Snapchatting their friends. They're listening to the Mosley show, Kevin. So let's watch what we say today. Let's watch some of your usual kind of salty language.
Right. Yeah.
Some of that. Mm-hmm. Let's remember, kids are out there listening today.
That's true.
Way back, I think going through Clayton, New Mexico. You almost lived in Colorado at one point. You're familiar with some of these places. You got to come back through Pueblo. If you're making your way back from Denver, you got to go through Pueblo and Colorado Springs and Clayton. And I think we stayed in kind of a rough little hotel in Clayton. I don't know. That was one evening. My wife suggested to me that we would need to make some better hotel choices in the future. I just kind of like when I'm driving, whenever I finally get tired, I just like to pull over there. And I think perhaps she would like a little more planning to be involved. Okay. And so maybe some of those hotels that you actually can go through the hall to get to the room, the ones that go straight to the outside, I mean, can feel a bit sketchy. It just seems a little bit too easy for somebody to be able to get to you. But you know what? Let's not act like just because you're in a hall, it's the safest thing in the world. Ah, man, coffee. Just kind of a good cup of coffee will get you going, especially the third cup of coffee of the day. That will really get a man going the direction he needs to go. Kev, the good news is, feels like some of the games that have been canceled and everything, like there was a big high school game, our local high school playing at Jesuit. That's getting rescheduled for tomorrow. Baylor women playing tonight at the Foster. And that's going to be a big gathering. Need to get all the students over there. And right now the men are struggling a little bit. And I heard from Coach Drew earlier today. In fact, he's. I mean, you talk about someone who's got his head down, grinding, and they're going to try to go on the road and get a win at West Virginia tomorrow and see if they can start turning this thing around. Kev, I was kind of shocked. Somebody sent me a deal that said Baylor's like one of the last four out of the NCAA tournament. That would tell you how much respect this program has, because after, and I'm probably too close to it, and I watch every minute of these games. And so in my mind, they're nowhere even close. They should be not even in the last 20 out of the NCAA tournament, the way this team's playing recently. And yet there they are, not even that far out. So it just shows you, if they could somehow get on a run and start beating some of these other bad teams in the conference, i.e. West Virginia. I'm trying to think some of the others that are not that great. Maybe Utah, Oklahoma State. They've already beaten Oklahoma State. That was their one win. They've got to beat up, now that they've gotten past this awful part of the schedule. They have got to beat up on some of these lesser teams. And these are not going to be easy road games, but they are winnable. And if you could come back home with a 3-6 record, then who knows? Who knows? Maybe you could mount some kind of comeback. Now, the problem is, from a player standpoint, help is not on the way. And let me tell you, I've been in touch with all the major folks that a lot of the donors and a lot of the people that are involved, and I just want to tell you, not only will there be a big influx of money coming in, but I think the money is also going to fuel a revamped evaluation process. There has to be some different thoughts on who they bring in after 2 straight years of misses. Now Scott's good because Scott does take all the blame and he's going to own it, but um, they, you know, they have to figure this out. And you can't whiff on some key players in the portal 2 straight years without having to reassess how you go about doing this. Now, last night, we did have Kev. I watched, I mean, that was unbelievable. BYU came back and Arizona had a late meltdown. I think I had picked BYU to pull the upset, Kevin. And for the longest time, it looked like, it was like 19 down. Arizona was functioning beautifully on the road until they weren't, until there was a major late meltdown from the Arizona Wildcats. And sure enough, trailing by one with 11 seconds left, BYU had the ball, got the ball in the, you would say, well, DeBonce's got to touch the ball here, right? No, they kind of ISO'd Rob Wright, the former Baylor guard, and he got one guy up in the air out of the play, and he thought in his mind that he literally had like a point blank lay in, and he went, or a little push shot, you'd call it, and he goes up, and the Arizona kid comes from behind and swats it, and Arizona gets the ball and holds on. Some questionable calls there late aided that comeback by BYU, but great deal. Fran Fraschilla, who will be on the show soon, I was on the phone with him late last night because I thought he had a really good call. And he and who was that? Who was he with last night? Was that Shambi? Whoever he was up there with in the land of the Mormon. Usually, Kev, that's Pete Souza. Pete Souza has dang near converted to being a Mormon. He spends so much time up there in Utah and BYU. They love putting him up there. And then sometimes they'll have some rando, I mean, no offense, but like there'll be some guy calling the play-by-play in Waco when Pete should be the one calling it. Okay, if you're going to have King there, Peacock, you should have Pete next to him. I mean, no offense to the Westerling guy. He seems like a nice guy. He's a guy, dresses nicely, puts on a good sweater. Now King does a deal where he'll put on a sweater with a nice button down under it. It's a good look, and it's something I may start considering here in these cold winter months, is getting just a little bit of a better look here than just putting on my fleece, kind of a daily fleece situation and a ball cap. But again, we're trapped in our homes. I want to go. I got a lot of opportunities today. I got buddies who've opened their restaurants, and my wife kind of tries to tell me that I'm not someone who needs to be supporting every local restaurant or bar, and I tend to, though, because I've got good friends who own these things, and when they open up and there's not many customers there, I like to kind of go sliding in there and see what I can accomplish. But we're going to get some food to some people that are kind of shut in right now because of illness and otherwise. And so I'll kind of be out making some runs this afternoon. In fact, we may cut it off just a little bit early today. We've got a major, Kev, just to let people know what's coming. Major guest at 1:30. The beat writer for the Dallas Morning News. Yesterday, we had the Eagles beat writer for the Philly Inquirer. The Dallas Morning News beat writer, Joseph Hoyt, will be joining us today to bring us up to date on the Cowboys hires on the defensive side of the ball. And in fact, today the news is that the Cowboys tight ends coach is getting interviewed as the possible offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Kev, Pittsburgh Steelers have hired Mike McCarthy. I would expect McCarthy, just like he did in his final year with the Cowboys, or his final couple of years, I would expect McCarthy to call the plays there in Pittsburgh. And what is he doing there? They just put the Pittsburgh clothes on him? Because what is he holding there? What does he want? Is this when he won the Super Bowl with the Packers? I can't really tell what's on his chest there, Kev. I can't really tell what that is
I believe that would
in
be
front
the
of him.
Steelers logo underneath there, but it's all just Photoshopped. So
I know it's all Photoshop, but I just couldn't really see in what was
yeah,
in front of him, because at first I thought it was like the Lombardi, but I don't think that's it. I like when Kevin just kind of shows up there. Just and then Mike, and then McCarthy sitting right in the middle of us. McCarthy looks good there. Looks a little thinner than I recall him. But I mean, I wish somebody Photoshop me a little thinner. Goodness gracious, or slip me some of these new. They got some of these drugs. They got them in pill form now. I mean, just if somebody dropped some of those off the house, I'd appreciate it. All right, Kev, I may send you on a run, kind of like a Wegovy run or something. Just give me just like a handful of them, just to kind of see how they work. It's the Mosley Show, and we're rolling on a month. Oh, what I was going to say, Kev. So we've got our major guest at 1:30. Then at 2, I really want a good dose at about 2:05, 2 or 2:05 of Campus Confidential. I want to dig in. Baylor's brought in some new, I don't know, maybe Kevin's mad at this kid or something. Kevin did not really hit the big news of the day very hard the other day, and that was Baylor landing a player from the Indiana Hoosiers. Now Baylor's starting to, offer some quarterbacks. One thing I saw today that was kind of fun was a blast from the past. Guy Tomchek played at Colleyville Heritage, came to Baylor in about the year 2000, about 21 years ago. And his son has now been offered by the Bears, by Baylor. How fun is that? And young man that's Baylor's taken a long look at for a possible quarterback. Now, by the time this young man gets to Baylor, who knows? They could have changes. This is kind of interesting. The Baylor defensive pass game coordinator, Paul Gonzalez, is a target for the defensive backs coach job at USC. Now, that makes sense because that is where Gary Patterson, and I brought up this possibility that Patterson might want some of his old coaches. In fact, Jared Anderson was his old, he's the Baylor tight ends coach now. He's done a really nice job at Baylor. Now, Gary, obviously Lincoln Riley would have more say on that side of the ball, but Gary will get to hire who he wants to hire on the defensive side of the ball. And that would be a tough loss for Baylor. This was coming down just about 30 or 40 minutes ago. Now, when it's appropriate, and I don't know, I don't really, I guess I need to reach out to the USC powers that be, but when it's appropriate, we'll get Gary Patterson on here to talk about going to USC and becoming the defensive coordinator there. Wow. I mean, it's pretty rare that, we have seen some legends come back to the game, kind of like Bill Snyder came back to Kansas State after retiring. He did come back once after, I think it was Coach Prince got fired, and they brought him back. Gary coming back as a defensive coordinator, it happens all the time in the NFL. Head coaches get fired and they come back as defensive coordinators. College legends such as Gary Patterson, that spent 20 years at a school or 21 seasons, to come back as a defensive coordinator. It's extremely rare for something like that to happen, to come back into the game I'm talking about and be at USC. Very, very interesting and fascinating hire by Lincoln Riley. And we'll get Gary on. Just as we are holed up and most of you are not going into the office and we're trying to stay safe out there, I do think the highways are better the roads are, kind of all in our neighborhoods are still not great. Kevin, I like to give people an idea of what they might enjoy watching in addition to sports. I've been watching Australian Open late every night, and unfortunately, man, the last night I was kind of rooting for Lerner TN, the American, against Sasha Zverev. Anyway, something like that. And Zverev, it's like Sasha with a Zverec. But Sasha Zverev, the number 3 ranked player, took care of Lerner TN. So that's been my late night watching. We watched a movie though last night at like a decent hour at like 8 p.m. And then I was able to watch the BYU game after that. The Matt Damon, Ben Affleck film that's currently on Netflix called The Rip. The Rip. All right. And we got cops involved. We got dirty cops. We got DEA. We got some drug bust. But The Rip, you know what The Rip is? That's when you go in there and you find a bunch of drug money, and it's a rip. And this in this case, this is based on some true events. It's a good one. I gotta say, I think you guys would enjoy it. And the Rip with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and the coach from Eric Taylor, Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights, whose real name is, what is his real name? I just know him as Coach Taylor. Anyway, I like the actor. He's also on Bloodlines or Bloodline. Pretty good movie that came out a couple of years ago. Kind of a series that came out on Netflix. So give it a look. Just trying to help you in that regard. We'll also, as we get in the 2:00 hour, and I'll talk about it for a second here.
Kyle
Chandler. Yeah. I think he's a good actor. Yeah. He's very likable.
He lives outside Austin after Friday Night Lights. So
after his coaching career ended.
Yeah. He kind of made his home, settled out down there in a ranch somewhere. So
I like that, Kev, when you just come in there with really good, solid information like that. Kev, are you in denial about Baylor landing this unbelievable kid from Indiana? What's happened with that? I feel like you.
No.
Okay.
No,
I mean, but he was good, right? We're not going to downplay. This guy put up some big numbers for the Hoosiers. We're not going to downplay this, are we?
He's maybe the 3rd or 4th best defensive tackle on the roster.
Wow.
So you can have him.
It's not really what the numbers suggest, but okay. All right, if you want to put it that way. But wow, Kevin playing down Baylor's acquisition of the great Hoosier. And again, we got to win some court cases to make this happen. Yeah,
you're high on DJ Lagway, and in my experience as a Colts fan is a quarterback with a lot of athletic ability, with some questionable decision making coming from Florida. Screams Anthony Richardson to me.
Well, only because that's where Anthony came from. I mean, just screams. I mean, we can't just everybody from Florida. We can't just paint with the same broad brush.
No, you're right. Tim Tebow was really successful after his college career too.
Oh my gosh, these guys.
Well, Danny Werfel.
Both of those guys were way more. Have way
Kyle Trask though. Kyle Trask was
Okay, you're going way back. You're going way back with some of these guys. Danny Werfel, you're going like 25 years ago, and then whoever else you just said. Yeah, let's stay within the past decade, sir. I had one more for you. Oh, this is interesting, Kev. And I mean, again, some of this can come out later in something we call Campus Confidential. Former Baylor graduate assistant and current Jacksonville offensive coordinator Grant Yudinsky interviewed for the Buffalo Bills head coaching vacancy. Now Buffalo, and I didn't want to bring that up. Buffalo did hire. Somebody was saying something about Jose Wheeler. Love that kid, Jose. I like how he spells his name too. It's like Hosea or Hosea. Jose. I love that guy. Somebody was just trying to talk to us on the. By the way, if you're following us on Twitter today, thank you. First of all, second of all, please go ahead and sign up for. In fact, if the Colorado crew, as the Hefton crew makes their way back from the mountains, all of y'all need to go to YouTube now and subscribe. Okay, even make the girls do that, Caroline and everybody. Make them go ahead and sign up. All right. I don't even know if my daughter has signed up, but I would like for everybody to subscribe. Now, this is interesting though. This Udinsky started his coaching career as a GA on Matt Rule's staff in 2019. That sucker is the Jacksonville offensive coordinator there. Was right there on that Baylor campus. Coaches fascinate me, like their stories, their backgrounds, the chances they take advantage of, the twists and turns along the way. But for this is a good time because of McVay and because of all these youngsters who keep making it. This is a good time to be young and successful in the NFL, better than ever, because it used to be, even if you were great young coach at 30, they would still make you wait a few more years before you got your opportunity. Now it's like, well, what do you say? How's this Raiders job sound to you? And I'll just tell you, you should pass that up if you get offered the Raiders job. All right, the great beat writer for the Dallas Morning News, covers the Cowboys, Joe Hoyt, joins us next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months, plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's internxt.com today.
Welcome to Market XLS, your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
Experience with the Mosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
MosleyMD.com.
At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Unlock a world of convenience with Mullybox, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your taste. Mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more.
It's Matt Mosley Show. And, boy, thank you, C&B. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for being our presenting sponsor. And, boy, right on time. I love this. Joe Hoyt, the beat writer for the Dallas Morning News, covers the Cowboys. And Cowboys, I mean, this is quite a gig there because there's tremendous interest. You might not have to cover a playoff team, but certainly everything leading up to them not making the playoffs is always interesting. Now, Kev, I saw him there for a second, and then I didn't see him. So I was about to bring him on. Did we lose him for a second there?
He was there, and then he wasn't.
Let's make sure. Yeah.
We will see if he jumps back in here.
Okay. Let's see the young Hoyt, because I was really going to give him a. Oh wait. Okay, I think he's back now. We were missing him. While we have him, let's bring him right on. Oh, Joe, I was just in the middle of giving you a beautiful intro, and then next thing you know, you were not there. I thought maybe the Cowboys had hired another assistant coach on defense. You'd had to pull the ripcord. But good to see you. I hope you're staying safe and warm, and you got your good hoodie on. You're getting ready for all kinds of coverage. I saw you writing about the Senior Bowl. Everybody, the Cowboys are going to be looking. How are you holding up during this winter storm? Have you ventured out, or have you bunkered in for the most part?
No, I've bunkered in. I think we're going on 80 hours now. It's straight ice out there. So I'm not going to the Senior Bowl anymore because I couldn't get out. So I'll be doing some remote coverage of that. And I literally just spent the last 30 minutes shoveling frozen ice from the driveway, and I probably got about 2 feet of horizontal distance to try to get the cars out. So getting a little antsy in here, Matt, but we're safe. We have power. Blessed to have all that.
Well, I'll tell you a place that you and the sports editor at the Morning News, Tommy Magelson, and I have spent a little time. I did notice they're open today, Vector Brewing. So if you can find a way to slide down the way there, they're opening up, and they're going to have kind of a skeleton crew, but they will have sustenance and pizza and brews and everything you could possibly want. So, man, I'm sorry, that Senior Bowl, I've covered it. It's a fun deal, and that's something everybody looks forward to. So I hate that you couldn't get out. I know you need to stay safe, but that would, I guess, Joe, that will they go ahead and have this thing with you not being able to be there? I guess the show must go on, huh?
Yeah, the show will go on, and it's interesting this year because I was looking forward to it. I haven't been yet, so I guess next year will be my first maiden voyage out there to Mobile. But there's a lot of players that have backed out, which I think is interesting. A lot, and there's really nothing left for them, some of these guys, to prove. But there's definitely a lot of players that could be of interest to the Cowboys specifically that have backed out. You look at Reuben Vane, even guys like D'Angelo Pons, corner from Indiana, who I'm a big fan of. And, I think that there's still some guys to watch out there for sure. But even making that list of 10, you have to get a little bit creative in who might be worth keeping an eye on there for the Cowboys.
One name, I noticed you went kind of Texas Tech heavy to the point you had to say, no, this is not going to be. And by the way, where did the sports editor go at the Morning News? Anyway,
I promise that was not an influence. I swear.
Romello Height he's an interesting. You almost these days anybody Tech goes after in the portal, you just need to go ahead and throw them on the Senior Bowl list of people to watch. The Jacob Rodriguez, that's an interesting one because I don't think, isn't it interesting that somebody can be literally considered by some as the greatest defensive player in America, can just be that. And yet something you said I think is true in your story was like, we kind of needs to see how he does in Mobile, kind of needs to see how, because a lot of times we think, well, there's all this unbelievable film, yet there's something about this guy, as great a player as he is, that you're like, wait, is this going to translate to the next level? Now, there's another guy kind of like that, that plays, is he at Detroit? You know, it's just interesting because players like this, and I'm talking about that may not fit the prototypical, you know, like a pass rusher kind of guy or long, or may not have the elite speed. Some guys like this do end up playing really well at the next level. But that's interesting to me, Joe, is that guys like this that are unbelievable college players, you still feel like you need to see more, don't you?
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, and I'm not trying to make myself seem, you know, younger here or age people, but I've been an NFL draft nerd for a while, and I was first kind of introduced to this idea that college stuff doesn't translate to the NFL necessarily when I remember watching Jason White from Oklahoma in the national championship. And as a kid, I'm like, hey, this guy, he's going to be the number one pick, right? I mean, they're in the national championship, and he went undrafted. So, you know, there's always a difference between what you do in college. We obviously saw with guys like Tim Tebow and what you do in the NFL. And I think Jacob Rodriguez is interesting because I do think I don't think he's a Jason White type guy, right? Like, I think he'll be a good NFL linebacker. But in terms of what he does outside of Texas Tech system, you know, I think this is a guy that if you watch him, very high IQ in terms of making plays. When you have 4 interceptions like he did, that's someone who understands scheme, understands scouting, understands what he's looking for. But what happens when you take him from that safe haven, that kind of comfortable place that he's been thriving at, and put him in a different place where he might be expected to be an instant impact guy? You know, I'm curious to see how he does in terms of his measurables, in terms of speed and things like that. But, you know, it's at the same time, the thing I kind of always fall back on is if you're productive in college, it's hard for me to think that you won't be at least somewhat productive in the NFL. You know, I think it's something that we get caught up in all the time. It's a reason why guys like Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M last year go in the top 10, and then you don't really see much of him in his rookie season, I think, because he has all the talent in the world, but for some reason the production wasn't there. I think when production is there in college, more often than not, that means a lot of things went right. You know, and I think that that's usually a safer bet, especially if you're looking in the 3rd or 4th round. The question with Jacob Rodriguez specifically, is this guy a 2nd round pick, or is he a 4th or 5th round pick that you can kind of just feel comfortable with his floor rather than betting on his height?
Yeah, and you know, it's funny you said that about Jason White. This year, Fernando Mendoza was so great, and in the way he is in interviews, he's so polished. I mean, he is going to probably go number 1 overall, you know, and it's interesting how we evaluate quarterbacks, because I don't know if even 5 years ago that totally would have been, although things changed, didn't it, when Kyler and Baker and some people that weren't your prototypical measurable type guys started going early. You know, who it took to be a breakthrough in that area was actually Russell Wilson, because he had a body type and in a height that didn't really connect. The kid I was trying to think of for the Lions, by the way, and I guess I got mixed up thinking because his last name was Rodriguez that he played at Tech. Malcolm Rodriguez from Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
That to me is kind of a comparison. Now that guy went in the 6th round. He's become a really good player for the Lions, but he's that kind of like highly, highly productive college player that it did translate. Okay. If a guy makes a bunch of sacks and makes 1 million tackles in college, it might end up translating. So I wanted to get your thoughts on Christian Parker before we kind of get into how this staff is starting to form. The news that Lunda Wells, the tight ends coach for the Cowboys, is going to interview with the Steelers and possibly reunite with Mike McCarthy there. But Christian Parker was an interesting name, Joe, that we heard early. And I think everybody was like, okay, this is a young guy. But I think anybody that's covered Jerry Jones like you have knows, well, he doesn't really hire people like this. It's generally so I think a lot of Cowboys fans are kind of excited because it sort of indicates that maybe Jerry while he had input, wasn't maybe driving this train. You get a 34-year-old Christian Parker without play calling experience, but has been on everybody's radar now for about the last 4 or 5 years as a bright young ascending coach. What did you make of the hire? And I guess what are the biggest pros in your mind, and then maybe the biggest con?
Yeah, no, I think it's funny because when you looked at this hiring process, I think from the very beginning, I said, I wonder if they're going to allow Brian Schottenheimer to find his defensive Clayton Adams, right? Because Clayton Adams was a guy that was not really on the external radar, even though he was on, in terms of the league circle, he was an internal radar guy of being someone who was up and coming. Brian Schottenheimer, when he talked about that process, he really talked about how he spoke with a lot of people to try to say, who's just up and coming in your mind? Who should I keep an eye on? He built his list off that, and then boom, Clayton Adams was the hire. And I think what proved to be true was that you found your defensive Clayton Adams if you're Brian Schottenheimer, because he did the same process. I think that if you look at how different this was, not only from a number standpoint, but from an experience standpoint, from what they've done previously, you go back to what they did with Matt Eberflus, right? That was a hire that, and many people have reported this, I heard Matt Eberflus's name before Brian Schottenheimer was named head coach as the most likely defensive coordinator in Dallas. It kind of goes to show who was doing really the hiring on that. They ultimately interviewed 2 Rooney Rule candidates to fill that obligation, and then hired Eberflus very quickly. You go back to the previous one, Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan and some of these older guys that ended up paving the way for Mike Zimmer. Those were Jerry Jones type hires previously, and he wanted someone who had fallen off, someone who had to redeem themselves, someone who was hungry to reestablish himself after kind of having a taste of success of being at the top of the ladder in the NFL. And I think that what he learned through this last year with Matt Eberflus is that sometimes hunger can be different. You can't box hunger into this prerequisite of someone who has fallen off. Sometimes there's hunger for people who are trying to rise in the ranks. And I think that's one of the things that maybe Brian Schottenheimer sold him on through the process. The only guy who had NFL head coaching experience in their pool was Jonathan Gannon. And then, honestly, if you look at in terms of defensive play calling, there was very little experience beyond that, too. Durante Jones had been a defensive coordinator at LSU for 1 year. Ephraim Banda had been a defensive coordinator at Utah State. Even the guy from the Giants who was their interim DC, that was only his first time being a defensive play caller. Christian Parker, as you pointed out, no defensive play calling experience. The thing that I've kind of gathered about Christian Parker, though, is that this guy is someone that fit every box in terms of what Brian Schottenheimer and Jerry Jones laid out from the very beginning of this process. They wanted someone who can teach. They wanted someone who can communicate, especially things that are a little bit different. They wanted someone who can kind of have more of a scheme that goes out and generates turnovers. That was a huge, huge problem with the Cowboys this season. Only 6 interceptions, lowest in franchise history. And it's kind of crazy to think when you consider where they were just 2 years ago under Dan Quinn. I think Christian Parker hit every single box. The only question is the lack of defensive play calling experience. And that will be a storyline to follow this year.
Yeah, and now you're monitoring as he now that's the other thing about a 34-year-old hire, right? It's not like he has long associates that have worked under him. I mean, he's been at some interesting places. He's been at Denver. As you start to look at some of the candidates, and we know most of the defensive side under Eberflus, the guys he brought in, that crew's been cleaned out. How do you see this defensive staff taking shape?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because to your point, when Mike Zimmer goes to hire defensive assistants, I'll never forget it. Even in his intro press conference, he got a phone call from someone calling him that said, "I want to join your staff." Right? When you've been in the league for a long time, you have people calling you. When you haven't been in the league for a long time, it's a lack of relationships in terms of the expansiveness that a guy like Mike Zimmer or Matt Eberflus might have. But Christian Parker has been in some good spots. He's worked with some good people. And I think what you're seeing is he's targeting guys that are also young, but from places that have had a lot of success. You think of Marcus Dixon specifically in Minnesota. The Vikings obviously have had a lot of success The Cowboys walked away. I mean, you saw this too, thoroughly impressed by what Brian Flores' crew did to them defensively. I think that's an interesting hire. It will be interesting to see if Washington reaches out to him as well. Now that Durante Jones is heading there, another candidate that the Cowboys had for DC. But I think the one thing you got to remember with any defensive coordinator candidate is when they walk into that second interview, and you know this, Matt, they have a staff put together, or at least a semblance of it. They have an idea of who they can go get and who they can target. And maybe it's 2 or 3 guys deep. I think the interesting interview they've had is they're interviewing Shane Bowen, who was the DC in New York. And I think, a lot of people say, that didn't go very well. I think it's intriguing because if you're going to be a first-time defensive play caller, I think it helps to have someone who has called plays, whether they had success or not, frankly. I think that there's some experience and learning lessons that come with it. So right now it's been more younger trending guys that they've been targeting. I'm curious to see if a Shane Bowen or someone actually with a little bit more experience can join the staff to not only be a positional teacher, but someone that can maybe help Christian Parker learn the ropes as he calls plays. Because the last thing I'll say about that is there's a feel to this, Matt, and you know this. There's a feel to calling plays. There's a feel that comes from experience. Year 1 as a defensive coordinator, you have a different feel than what you'll have in year 5, right? And I think that that's something that can't be underestimated when we're talking about Christian Parker's first year. I love the hire objectively. I think it's a great hire. That's a question mark though.
Yeah, and while they want continuity, then they at the end of the year, if it's another like record-breaking points given up, you'll be having a similar conversation. It's like, how do you admire teams that commit to somebody through the good times and the bad times, but it's like it sounds good like before a season starts, right? And then a season starts, it's kind of like Aaron Glenn as the head coach with the Jets. It sounds good like, hey, let's commit to this guy through thick or thin. And then after they've won whatever 3 games at the end of the season, it's like, really? Do we have to commit to this guy? So that'll be interesting. I think it's interesting to look, Joe, at like what the Patriots and Seahawks have done. They were both teams that were 25-1 shots to get where they are. The Patriots, and I'm sure you've looked at this, committed like an unbelievable amount of money to free agency. In the past, we would almost sometimes we cheered those teams on, like the dream team of 2011 with the Eagles. It's like, oh my gosh, the Cowboys are not trying. The Eagles are bringing in everybody. And then, of course, it backfired on them because they went 8-8 that season. Here the Patriots are sitting in the Super Bowl. Now, of course, they've got a MVP candidate at quarterback. We should mention that. But they spent huge in free agency and landed all kinds of starters and even questionable moves. Like the Milton Williams kid they brought in from Eagles, they paid him big money. He was not like an every down starter type guy. And yet at DB, even some of those lower level guys they brought in like Chason, Spillane, like they just hit on player after player. Should that give Cowboys fans some extra? Cowboys fans, I guess, always, delude themselves into thinking they have a chance. But the way the Patriots did it, knowing Jerry has said he'll bust the budget, do you sense that gives the Cowboys more hope to see how they accomplish so much in free agency?
So I think the free agency part of that is interesting. I think you laid it out well because I don't expect them to be Milton Williams big game hunters in free agency defensively. I think in terms of busting the budget, I think it more comes from a place of covering all their bases, right? And not just covering your bases with really, affordable, cheap guys that weren't going to have much interest elsewhere. I think that they're going to pay a lot of money to George Pickens. I think they're going to give Javonte Williams a good amount of money for a running back. And I think that they're going to have to find some guys that fit the system. And I think that's why Nakobe Dean, for example, is someone that if we're talking about bust the budget, that could be a guy maybe $14, $15 million a year so that you pay for in free agency to kind of come in and help teach Christian Parker's system. I wouldn't be shocked to see Reed Blankenship be another guy that like maybe you go out and get from a free agent standpoint to help and take him from the Eagles to help with Christian Parker. And I think that ultimately, Matt, is where the root of this, where the if you want hope, and then, you talked a lot about New England. I'll talk a little bit about Seattle specifically.
Okay.
If you look at Seattle 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, they were the 25th ranked defense in the NFL. They were not great. They didn't have a lot of optimism. They had a rookie, Devin Witherspoon, there who was doing well, and that had some hope. But if you look at what they did the next 2 years, it wasn't from this place of adding an incredible amount of free agents or doing a lot of crazy draft picks. It was more of a place of finding guys that fit their system. If you look at some of their free agents, some of these guys that they picked up, some of those guys were former undrafted guys that they signed to future deals. You look at even the Nick Emenwari pick. While I think everyone agreed that was a great fit and a fantastic pick, it's not like he was a top 5 prospect, but he fit perfectly in their system. And I think both of these teams and both of their defensive turnarounds go back to the idea of look at who's running it. Mike Vrabel and Mike McDonald, two guys that are just fantastic and making the most out of the guys that they have and putting them in positions to succeed. And I think if you want an argument against Matt Eberflus, I think that's one of the things you had this season is they didn't have guys in positions to succeed. They had square pegs in circular holes. It just wasn't working that way. I think that's one of the things they hope from Christian Parker. So if you look at what the Cowboys have to do, I don't expect them to be bust the budget, big game hunting on defense and free agency, but I do expect them to find guys that work. And I wouldn't be surprised, Matt, if both of those first-round picks are defensive guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if both those first-round picks are secondary guys, because I think that that's an area that they need to improve distinctly, especially at nickel and safety.
It's interesting you say that because Marinelli, some would say back in the day, was almost given too much. And I guess Kiffin was involved to some extent right before that, along with Marinelli. But it was like one of those drafts, they did do a whole defensive draft. And this feels like a time they maybe should do something like that. When you look at these mock drafts and you start to kind of, like you said, you're way into the draft. So does it at 12 and 20, does cornerback come to mind? And is there somebody that will be down there at 12 or even 20? Are any of these cornerbacks? The guy from Tennessee is interesting to me. I don't believe he played this past season, right? And which, of course, when they got Micah, he hadn't played in his last season at Penn State because of the COVID. He sat out this year. Are there any of those guys from a defensive back standpoint that just stand out like crazy to you that you would be excited about the Cowboys taking?
Yeah, I think there's multiple guys. And the thing I'll say, though, is I think at 12, you got to get an elite guy. And I think that if an edge rusher falls, one of the elite edge rushers, I think David Bailey from Texas Tech. I like Ruben Bain a lot. I'm wondering about the exact fit with him. I like Ruben Bain a lot. If one of those type guys falls, if Arvell Reese falls, I think that you take him. If Caleb Downs is there, I think you take him. But I'll tell you right now, Matt, as we're sitting here on January 27th, I expect all those guys to be gone by the time 12 picks. So I think corner would probably be the smart move there. And you mentioned Jermod McCoy didn't play last year, but a fantastic talent from Tennessee. I think some people get a little bit of pause and be like, wait, another ACL type guy. And he should be pretty healthy and ready to go. I don't think it's a Savone Revel situation there. But I think the early kind of favorite at 12 might be Mansour Delane from LSU. This is another transfer in there, but someone who was just shut down, someone who was fantastic, someone that you could feel pretty confident, I think, putting on the outside and letting him just kind of, do his thing out there for a while. And I think that if it was me, at 12, I'm either taking an elite edge rusher that falls, a safety in Caleb Downs that's there, or a corner if all those things are gone. And at 20, I'm trading back. And I'm getting multiple day 2 picks or even later in the first round because I think that there's some other significant needs. And I think the positions that you're going to need, if you can get that corner, I think the edge class is pretty deep, or you can get a second-round edge. Maybe Cassius Howell falls to the second round, and that's someone you can get off from Texas A&M with some juice off the edge. I think at safety, if you don't get him at 12, I think a guy like Dylan Thieneman or McNeil Warren from Toledo, those are two guys that I think would do really well in the system. And then I think the biggest sneaky need for them, Matt, and it's something that Jerry Jones was pretty quick to tell us, and I agree, they felt the Jordan Lewis loss significantly this year. I think nickel corner today in the NFL is becoming an instrumental and essential piece, even though the value probably isn't there from a financial free agent standpoint yet. There's a kid from Clemson named Avion Terrell who I think is just kind of feisty. He's got that Jordan Lewis demeanor. I think if you can get him in late in the first round or early second, that'd be great. And then I already mentioned him. D'Angelo Pons is just fantastic. He only played outside, but this is a 5'10", 5'9" guy that is just a dog that I think if you put him inside, I think that he's going to be feisty. And I think you might have found your Jordan Lewis 2.0 from Indiana there.
Just load up on Indiana players, kind of like the Eagles always just go, well, just take a Georgia player. When in doubt, take a Georgia player. Maybe the Cowboys should become the team that and boy, that Pons, you love these stories like I do, but I get years ago, he goes to James Madison, and obviously the rest is history. But apparently there was a guy, they didn't name him in the story, but came in from Akron to take a peek at Pons, and Pons would have totally signed. They'd already gotten him at Akron, and the guy went in, the secondary coach at Akron said, nah, he's not big enough, sorry. And they basically pulled the commitment from him. And he goes to James Madison, and then he ends up becoming one of the best corners in the game. Cowboys do not have a great history. I was trying to remember the last really big-time corner that they hit on in the first round. They busted out on Mo Claiborne. They certainly, Diggs was, for all his nuttiness lately, was a good pick in the second round. But I'm just trying to think of the last time they truly hit on a cornerback in the first round. Does anything come to mind?
No, it does not. And I think the interesting thing that's going to be interesting to watch is, does Christian Parker care about arm length? Because I think that's been a big, prerequisite and, kind of boxing guys in terms of corner prospects. They don't have the arm length. Maybe it's just the short guy in me, Matt, the short guy with short arms. I don't care about that. Go out and play. And I think that's something I would consider from the Cowboys.
Yeah, you just don't want to go to dinner with those types.
Yeah, we can't reach for the bill. It's like, it's so far. Go for it.
Those short arm guys. All right, man, I love catching up with you. I don't let you get back to it, although, man, I would have enjoyed reading, not to rub it in, but your Senior Bowl coverage. You would have done a great job at that. And so hopefully make sure you go ahead and book your time for next year. Don't let Calvin try to big body you or anything like that. But that'll be exciting to get back there. By the way, do you feel with Harbaugh being hired as the Giants head coach, are you like me? Does that completely change the way you look at that franchise? It's like, to me, the way I build it is kind of like a dark day for the Cowboys, because in a sense, they have not had a serious head coach since Coughlin. So for about 10 years, basically Dak's whole career, he's been handed 2 wins against the Giants on an annual basis. And by the way, he's cashed in on that. And the only time the streak was broken was when they took him out of the game, right? They didn't care about beating the Giants in that final game. Do you look at the Giants completely differently that Harbaugh's there?
100%. Yeah, no, I think that was a terrible news for the Cowboys. And because I think if you look at the Giants, I was a fan of their potential this year. I'll be honest with you, man. Not to make a run or anything, and obviously, Dayball. I kind of thought going into this year that was one of those hot seat situations where it almost felt like everyone had agreed that it was going to end. It just was a matter of when. And I thought they should have get rid of him the year before. And then Joe Shane is Joe Shane. But I'll tell you, if you look at the Giants team, the reason I thought that they could be an issue even this year for the Cowboys, they got a lot of things that work on defense specifically. They've got an incredible edge rushing trio. They got Dexter Lawrence, one of the best defensive tackles in the game. I think that they got Javon Holland at safety is some optimism. I think at corner, they still have some issues. But the big question was always, what are you going to do at quarterback? And I was bullish on Jackson Dart coming out. I thought Jackson Dart was going to be the best quarterback in that class. And ironically, a guy who I thought would be not very good is Tyler Shuck, and he looks pretty darn good too. So I think those two might be competing alongside Cam Ward. We'll see what happens in Tennessee. But I loved Jackson Dart, and I think that with Harbaugh and Dart together and what they've got on defense already in place, that's a team that's going to compete next year against the Cowboys. I don't think that's going to be an easy out. or a guaranteed 2 wins, even though it wasn't this past season. That was not good news for the Cowboys to see John Harbaugh enter the division.
No, and honestly, no slight to Shoddy, but he probably becomes the 4th best coach in the division just based on what everybody's accomplished, and that's interesting. And also interesting on the lack of candidates when Dayball goes from a 4-win team who you thought should have been fired a year ago to like in the mix for a head coaching job with the Raiders, already has the Titans OC job in his back pocket. I mean, again, it just speaks to the lack of qualified candidates. And it's why people are reaching, I say reaching, maybe like a guy like Udinsky with Jacksonville, for instance. He's been in the mix for a couple things. That dude was a GA at Baylor under Rule just like 6 years ago. Like a GA and now he's being considered for a head coach in the NFL. So there's never been a better time to be young and to have some association to McVay or Shanahan or one of those guys. But it's a fascinating deal. All right, well, stay warm and good luck as you continue to try to kind of dig your way out of there, okay?
A literal dig. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Matt.
All right, there he goes. Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. And good conversation there. And the thing about Joe and guys kind of from his age range is they have really all kind of they've come up as sort of draft, just way into the draft. And so they watch all these guys like crazy as far as these potential draft picks for the Cowboys. So that's helpful when the Cowboys have a pick at 12 and a pick at 20. And then to hear kind of all his thoughts on who he likes at safety and cornerback, that's the stuff that our audience is dying to know this time of year. So very, very good stuff. So appreciate Joe coming on and going over some of those. It is hard to think back, Kev, on like the Cowboys at first round picks when it comes to corner. It's not a great history in recent years. You got to kind of go way back. And again, the Diggs and Bland and some of these guys they've hit on, those were not first round picks. So, I guess
D'Angelo Pons, he's good. And he'll be there.
I love the kid. I mean, it really comes down to like Christian Parker, like what he values. Like it's kind of what Joe was saying. If he, some people want the big, long-levered. Ravel's a big DB. Duran's a fine-sized DB. He's long enough. Some DCs just don't want one of those little guys, but Pons is hugely productive. Yeah.
Think of Cooper DeJean. Like, people didn't know, is he a cornerback? Is he a safety? Is he a nickel? Is he just a return guy because of his thing that he did against Iowa? Like, nobody knew the one run back he had in college. Nobody knew exactly what he was. Well, Christian Parker, did a good job of showing everybody what Cooper DeJean really was.
Yeah, but also he is 6 foot 200. Okay, the thing they're going to keep constantly bringing up about Pons is his size, and that will be brought up over and over again. But I'm with you. I love the kid and would have no problem with them taking him. It's just some of these receivers. But that said, I mean, like, it's not like JSN for the Seahawks is some kind of massive tall dude. Like I think it would be nice to have someone, who could try to match him step for step, which I know it's shocking to say this, but the Rams actually did an okay job on third down against him the other day, but the early downs, he was killing them. And that's how he ended up with 144 yards and at least one touchdown in that game. Wow, what a performance in the AFC title game. Had that catch down there with a one hand. Do you have one touchdown or two touchdowns? Oh my gosh, that guy is awesome. Just had the one. Okay.
Yep.
I just can't. I should not doubt my instincts.
No. 153, one touchdown, on 10 catches.
153.
But what's crazy is Puka on the other side had 162 on 9 catches. So, like, you know.
In the previous game against these guys, I think Puka had like 230 yards receiving or somewhere in that neighborhood, or 250. Like, he went off in that previous game between those two, which was another great game, I think. But this game, Darnold showed up. Darnold was the X factor because he had been bad against the Rams, been very pedestrian, like 1-3, and threw a bunch of interceptions, 7 interceptions, only 5 touchdowns. Shows up the other day at home, was awesome. Darnold was awesome. I mean, that's the if we're saying, okay, what was the best acquisition in all of the NFL? That's got to be up there. I'm not thinking of many that could. The year before, Saquon Barkley to the Eagles was probably the best. I mean, Darnold to the Seahawks. How could you put anybody above that?
I didn't think he was going to do anything. I thought that he was a benefactor of the Brian Flores defense last year, and having Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to throw the ball to. I didn't think he could come out and do what he did. Being the second player ever to have over 10 wins and 4,000 yards in back-to-back seasons with 2 different teams.
He was
the
awesome.
Other one being Tom Brady.
He was awesome, and they didn't have to completely break the budget. I mean, it's not like he's playing for nothing,
right?
But
100 million 3 years is still a lot.
But Geno was wanting $40 million, and they paid Sam, I think, 33 this past year, and they got their money's worth. I mean, just remember that Dak Prescott is making double that per season. So you got Darnold for 33, and you got Dak for 60. One guy's in the Super Bowl. And again, people say, well, it's not Dak's fault. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I know. But I mean, again, we sell it.
It's your fault if you're taking that much money from the organization and preventing it from getting all of the other players to make you successful around you.
Yeah, but other teams find a way to spend huge at that area and still get places, like Purdy and the Niners.
Or
let's not
Buffalo.
act like or Josh Allen. Let's not act like some of those guys aren't paying enormous money at the quarterback position and then still at least getting to the divisional round, or even in some cases the NFC title round. And the Chiefs have been doing it forever. Now, they got the best deal in the world because their quarterback said, you know what, I'll commit to 10 years at whatever it was, like $45 million a year. And they're like, okay, done. We'll do that. And, their window may be closing, but pretty fun to go to the freaking Super Bowl like every year. How was that fun for Chiefs fans? I think so. Now they're mad because, of course, they don't get to do it anymore. Okay, I love our Campus Confidential. So I'll tell you what, we'll take a quick break, take care of all our good folks. Thank you, CNB. Thank you, Central National Bank. And then we'll do some major college. We'll do Campus Confidential. We'll do that next.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. And when it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. With the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. No reputable company or government agency will ever ask you to pay them with gift cards, Bitcoin, or a person-to-person payment app. Scammers use these options because the money can't be traced. Just don't do it.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
Ready for a better kind of primary care?
At Patient First Direct Primary Care, you get unlimited office visits with same-day or next-day availability.
And instead of rushed appointments, we take the time to actually listen.
There are no insurance hassles, just clear, simple care.
You can reach us by phone or text because access shouldn't be complicated. Our practice has expanded to include Medicare-age patients as part of our direct primary care model.
It's a fresh alternative to the traditional insurance or government-driven systems, care that finally puts you first.
For more information, go to patientfirstdirect.com.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
Boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
It is Mosley, and I was just sitting here tweeting some breaking news about, I was kind of explaining some things out there and I'll just do it later. I'll just finish that later because the last thing I need to do is to try to multitask and tweet something out during the show. What if I get something wrong? The world could end. Man, shout out to everybody trying to travel or trying to get to work today, or those that are shut in, homebound like a lot of us. I got my small business owner restaurant buddies telling me, hey, we're open, get out of here. And I really want to. I want to support everybody because that's tough, man, when the employees and everybody has to stay home for a few days. That's not good. It's not good for people that are needing that paycheck and not needing to be stuck home for a few days. So we do have some places in our neighborhoods that are opening up for business today. And I'm going to try to make a little bit of a run here this afternoon, see if I can load up on a couple things like some tacos at my favorite taco place. And then one of my buddies he said he had chili at his place, so I may go get a little chili. So I'll get something. I'll get something done. I wanted to thank our sponsors, unbelievable sponsors, Cherry Johnson, Siegmund James, the great law firm that they are. You see Ascension Providence down there. They've been with us, and we've talked to all their doctors in recent months. C&B Central National Bank, our presenting sponsor, and a tremendous job that they do. And excited to start showing off these new commercials. I'm starting to see those on TV. Those are great. Love C&B. Thank you, Brian Fonville, Veronica, Joe, the whole group, the Nesbitt family. Nesbitts are just awesome. Huge part of Waco, and the owners of this bank. It's unbelievable. You just think of all the ambassadors and the titans of industry in this country, and you'll know who are some of the owners of C&B. So one of the great banks really in the country, but certainly Central Texas. Locations in Temple and Austin as well, as addition to the two locations in Waco. So extremely appreciative of them. And then Alan Samuels, they're out there even during these tough times, even during these, they're opening up the shop, and you can go by and see Ted Teague and his staff and that service area. I mean, we're talking about an unbelievable amount of square footage devoted to just the service area out there at Alan Samuels. So Ted Teague and his crew will be waiting for you out there. Patient Direct, I mean, just really, really cool new sponsor of ours. So just wanted to shout out many of our sponsors and the incredible role they play right here on the Matt Mosley Show. C&B. Kev, can we get it down there on the bottom? I love looking at it down there when you get to, oh, that's just beautiful. C&B, we appreciate you so much. Kev, let's and Kev's holed up. He's got got the whole family, got 7 kids, got a lot of mouths to feed, and from what I'm told, his wife has done an incredible job. I don't know if Kevin's helped out too much on that cooking end of things, but boy, she's made extra. Some of the neighbors have been the beneficiaries of that. Kev, are you guys, what are y'all going with today? You still have some of that same soup, or is there something new in the mix?
I had some of that left over, threw some ground beef in with it, and some asparagus, some potatoes in there. I'm a big, I don't know if you are, I'm a big bowl guy. I like to get a whole bunch of different things together, mix it up, and just kind of consume it all mixed up. Every bite is different, but every bite is delicious on its own. That's how I kind of go about it.
That's not bad. Good protein, good kind of, I did some of that, what you're talking about, the ground beef, and I say I did some of it, Meredith put it together, but in a sweet potato, like an actual sweet potato, like a baked potato looking thing, but a sweet potato, and you put all that, put a little guacamole in there, maybe even a little bit of sour cream, but some ground beef, and really, really put all the good stuff. And then today, did some salmon with some carrots and some apples, and get some good fruit in the system. What you don't want to do when you hole up is just to kind of drink. I mean, like, I'm not going to tell people how to do their business. I think during COVID, we probably had some people stocking up quite a bit on alcohol. If you're going to do that kind of thing, you probably need to get out and move around just a little bit. I would say just kind of inside drinking all day does not strike me as the greatest decision to make. But again, don't judge here on the Mosley Show. All right. This is kind of an alcohol-free zone. Although the coffee, like if you're going to have an addiction, this is probably a better addiction than some others. And this is a major issue for me, but only 3 cups today. So I would say kind of easing into my day on that front. I did go over to see neighbor Ted yesterday, and I did a book exchange, and I gave him back Tinker Tailor Spy, Tinker Tailor, whatever the famous, those novels are those spy novels. And I honestly, I want to love them, but it's a different way of John. What's the guy's name? John Le Carre, I think is how you say it. I love the movies, and even The Night Agent that I'm watching right now on the second season of that's come out now several years after the first season, which came out years ago. The Night Manager is what I meant, on Amazon. It's great to watch. Reading those novels, it almost takes a little too much. Like it's almost there's so many characters. So I sort of love those characters on screen more than I like it on the written page. But I did go over there, took one of those back to him. How do you say that? Tinker Tailor Spy?
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
Something like that, yeah. I remember seeing the movie, and I think Gary Oldman might have been in it. No, somebody else. Anyway, then Gary Oldman is in this unbelievable TV show called Slow Horses on Apple TV, Kev. It's just great. Yeah. They've had like 4 or 5 seasons already. Incredible. I'm I am reading a new Baldacci book. And it seems to have some to do with civil rights. The Baldacci grew up in like Richmond, Virginia, and he's got an interesting insight on some different things. But I just started that last night, and I think I'm going to really like that. Okay,
Nice.
just a little book review for you. Let's
There
do
you go.
something we call Campus Confidential.
Yes. So a few days ago, Tennessee upset number 17 Alabama on the road. How dangerous do you think Tennessee is after that win? Basketball.
Man, I love. Yeah, I did understand that that was
okay.
men's
I
basketball.
mean,
Thank
we
you.
are in the transition time between
I know.
football and basketball. So
I have great respect for Rick Barnes, and they finally got tired of him at Texas. And be careful what you wish for, because then they've kind of been out there in the coaching wilderness for several years after chasing Barnes out of there. He lands on his feet in Knoxville, and all he's done is win a ton of ball games, and he's ranked top 10 or 15 on an annual basis. They've struggled some this year. I think Alabama's fighting it a little bit because they got all the goofiness with that Bediako, and they've had to go to court. And now the NCAA is trying to get that judge off the case, because that judge, of course, has given so much money to Alabama. He's a huge Alabama fan. And so it stands to reason he's going to rule in favor of Alabama, because he doesn't want all those Crimson Tide fans mad at him. But he actually played okay. They threw him in there pretty quickly. He came off the bench with about 16 minutes left after missing 3 years. They put him right in the game. But I like that. I thought Tennessee played tough, and that was a great road win. Any of those SEC game, those are all great road wins. The truth is, A&M almost beat Tennessee there. And if they had won that, A&M would be 7-0 right now in the SEC. Bucky McMillan with Bucky Ball. So very interesting stuff going on in the SEC. But I was impressed with that win by Tennessee. But I also think Alabama was kind of distracted. I was more impressed, if we're going to stay on college basketball for a second, with Stephen Pearl in Auburn getting that big win. Where were they the other day? Auburn goes on the road, and I thought that was Florida. Did they go to Florida? I think they did. And because obviously Florida's defending national champs, and they got a great head coach, and that was a really big time win for the son of Bruce Pearl, Steve Pearl, who's taken over there at Auburn.
Yeah. I know you wanted to talk about this yesterday, and I'd love to hear your take. This is just a snippet of some of the stuff that Dabo had to say.
In 20, after a phone call with Tom Allen and Ben Boulware, Luke affirmed his plan to enter the transfer portal, and then he called me and told me the same thing. Once I got word of all this at 4:15 that he was going over there trying to go in the portal, I immediately called our AD, Graham Neff. I also called Commissioner Phillips. He also called the SEC commissioner and others. So, this is obviously a crazy time. We turned everything in to the NCAA.
So we have universities suing players. We have coaches pressing charges to the NCAA, and we have coaches' wives going on local radio to try to keep players. What brings sanity back to this situation?
Well, we lost sanity in college athletics. I don't think it's ever existed. I think that sanity is certainly not what that's gone. This actually, what Dabo did was bringing back a form of sanity in the fact that coaches are a little scared to call people out because they know, hey, what if we tamper? What if when our coaches tamper? We're going to look like hypocrites. Dabo's one of the few people that can get away with this because Dabo has been so reluctant to embrace NIL in the portal that he might be one of the few people who still tries to play by the rules to a certain extent. And so he just came right out, called out Ole Miss, went right through the timeline. This player had gone to Clemson. Kev, remind me where he came from originally. Clemson got him. His name is like Luke Ferrelli, I believe. Ferrelli or something along those lines. And he was a really good player. And then Ole Miss comes in, starts asking about his buyout. Apparently, he's in class at 8 a.m. in like an economics class or something, and he starts hearing from Pete Golding, the new head coach at Ole Miss. And I think, Kev, this is healthy. This is of all the things that are unhealthy and things that we sort of hate about college athletics right now, Dabo coming out and just putting his torpedoes. He had threatened to do it. He had told the Ole Miss GM, if y'all keep doing this, we're going to call this out. And then he followed through on the threat. That's the only thing that will ever get these people's attention, is if they get embarrassed publicly. Now, the Ole Miss people aren't mad at their guy. They're like, hey, this guy's going above and beyond to make our team better. We're not embarrassed at all. In fact, we'll embrace this, and we think this makes us look good. The GM, who, by the way, there's a Baylor tie in here, 2020, he had been at LSU. Aranda brought him to Baylor. His name is Austin Thomas. He is now the GM. He had been at back at LSU, and now he's at Ole Miss. And he was basically quoted as saying, at least according to Dabo, hey, Pete's going to do what he's going to do. You know, I don't agree with it, but this is what's happening. You saw the agent involved here. You saw all of it. So again, if we're going to complain about all the tampering, call it out. And so I think Dabo, in a sense, has done a lot of people a favor here by calling out some of this poor behavior.
Do you think regulation or salary cap are in the future?
Oh, they were supposed to basically already have like a salary cap, and rev share was supposed to rein some of that in and provide some guardrails. I don't think we've seen that happen. I think now even people like Dabo believe that some sort of collective bargaining agreement, that it's something where the players put something in writing, and that there is a cap and something that looks more like the NFL might actually be what's best involved. Now, the other part of that, let me explain to you why the coaches and universities want a CBA. And this is the part they won't tell you. It's because they think they can kind of put one over on the players. I'm not saying that everybody thinks that, but I would say some think if we get a CBA and they got to negotiate for themselves, we can negotiate a better deal. And that's not being crooked or anything. That's how the NFL owners look at it. Then the players' organization have somebody that's in charge of a union, and they come to an agreement on how much revenue the players are going to get to keep. And this is how. Now, the problem with this is you can think, okay, well, this would be a good deal. And then, Kevin, let me remind you that you could be staring. Okay, maybe you agree to some kind of form. Okay, this is like a 2-year agreement. Sometime before the next agreement, you could have the threat of something we call a strike. And then you might get a year. You thought COVID was bad. Let us treat you to a year without college football. See how you guys enjoy that. So be careful what you wish for, because CBAs and unions can be helpful in some ways, but in an attempt to negotiate, there are always strikes that occur. And don't think that it couldn't come to college football.
All right. Last night, did Arizona show a weakness, or did BYU just out BYU them in that moment and just come up short?
Well, I think Arizona, which remains unbeaten, certainly, and BYU needed a couple of home calls. They got some help down the stretch, but it wasn't so much like a huge weakness as it was there was a bit of panic, and this can happen no matter how good a team is. When they haven't had a ton of game pressure, when they've won by a lot, and most times they line up and play a lot of these Big 12 teams, they're going to win by quite a bit. So when they have not faced a ton of game pressure, something like this can happen. And BYU, they had a 19-point lead evaporate. I mean, somebody's going to beat Arizona, whether it be Houston or Texas Tech, or one of these other really good teams in the conference. BYU almost did it. It's going to happen, and that could end up being okay for them. I don't think Arizona is going to go undefeated for the whole season. Now, how many undefeated teams do we have left? Do we still have 3? Is there still? I felt like there was a group of 5 team.
You got Nebraska.
What we call a mid-major. Now, Nebraska. We've got Arizona, and then we've got a mid-major.
Miami.
Of Ohio. Okay, a MAC team. Wow. Yep. Isn't that crazy? But
love those stories.
But BYU's really good, but they don't play as good a defense, obviously, as like Houston and Tech and some of these other top teams. So right now, I would say in the conference, Arizona's 1. This doesn't have anything to do with the records. This is just how I see it. Arizona 1. I still put Houston 2. I put Texas Tech 3. I know Texas Tech just beat Houston in Lubbock. Houston beat Tech in Houston. I think if they met on a neutral court, it would be a great game, but I would bet on the Cougs to win. So I got Cougs 2, and then who am I leaving out?
Iowa State.
I think right now I would put Kansas ahead of Iowa State, and then I would put BYU.
Right.
Is how I see it. But I say that, and you never know if Darren Peterson's going to be healthy or not for Kansas. When Peterson plays, I would put Kansas ahead of Iowa State. When Peterson does not play, I would put Iowa State ahead. I would put Iowa State. I would say BYU right now is. How many teams am I mentioning? Is that 5?
That's 5. Yeah.
There's just 5 like really good teams, and nobody else in the conference is really close to those 5. I mean, UCF would be kind of the next team, and maybe Cincinnati, but this is a
TCU's played tough in some times.
They're not good. I mean, God love them. You're right. They played Michigan tough. They've had 2 wins over Baylor, and they played Kansas. They should have beaten Kansas there. I still don't think they're that good. So I think you have 5 borderline great teams, and then 11 kind of like kind of nothing teams.
All right.
What else do you have?
2 games for you to pick tonight. Okay. Kentucky at 18 Vanderbilt. Who you think's going to win that one?
Well, Kentucky's been playing better ball, and they had that unbelievable last-second win not long ago against – who did that happen to? LSU? Yeah, I think it happened against LSU. Vandy has been slipping after an incredible start to the season. Give me Vandy to win. I don't know. Do you know the line on this game?
I haven't looked it up.
I think I would probably end up. I bet it's Vandy by 3 or 4 or something like that, or 5. But I would take Vandy to win this game.
6.5 to 7.5.
Yeah,
for Vandy.
Give me Kentucky to cover, Vandy to win outright.
All right, and then the other big game tonight is Nebraska, undefeated, number 5 in the country, at number 3 Michigan.
I love Nebraska, and it's fun to watch Little Hoiberg. Nebraska's got some dudes, man. They got size. They got 3-point shooting. It's a very complete team. But Nebraska gets its first loss tonight at Michigan. I think Michigan. I mean, they're great. Dusty's done an incredible job there. And what's the line on that game?
Michigan by 10.5. That's crazy up against the undefeated team. I know you're at home. I know Michigan, but Michigan's have some really close calls.
10.5.
Yeah.
Give me Nebraska to cover, Michigan to win outright.
There you go. Well, that's all I got for Campus Confidential.
He still does not really want to talk about the Hoosiers defensive tackle who has arrived ready to play in Waco, Texas. We love the young man and can't wait to bring him into the fold. Now before we let you go on campus. Oh, wait. Let's see. We've got some breaking. Oh, dang it. How did I lose this? We had some breaking Aggies news. This does fit in the in Campus Confidential. Sophomore left-hander, this is A&M, Caden McCoy, who impressed as a freshman with a 3-2 record, 2 saves, 29 strikeouts in 22 innings, suffered an elbow injury, and he heads into Tommy John surgery. Wow. They had already lost top arms Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin to the MLB draft. Whoa. That's tough. A&M getting some really bad baseball news. And so A&M team desperately needing to bounce back this season after being the number 1 ranked team heading into next season, and then really having a down season and not making the NCAA tournament. Wow, that's rough news. Rough baseball news. This will be a show where we do talk a little bit of college baseball. All right, we're not going to talk it constantly, but we love it. And I'm praying that the Bears put out a decent product this year. I like the kid at shortstop. I like the infield. I'll put it that way. I like some of these guys coming back. Reebok, I like the kid moving from second over to shortstop. There are some things I like about this Baylor baseball team. They need more. And Lord knows they're going to need some pitching. And they're going to need Grayson Murray to step up and possibly be the closer. This will be a safe space for some college baseball talk. Okay, that will happen. And we hope you guys will enjoy that. All right, quick break here, Kev, and then we got to come back. And there's a couple things I want to share, breaking news-wise, NFL-wise. We got another head coach has been hired in the NFL. We'll get you caught up, and we'll tell you the openings that are still out there. We'll do that next.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we were hoping Coach Collin would bring that championship mindset to do whatever she has to do to take our workplace culture to the next level.
Well, these donuts are pretty good.
Guys, how we doing?
We're good, Coach.
Craig! What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You have to dunk it.
So far, I think our employees are really enjoying it.
Not everything's a basketball thing.
Did you say something, Craig?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Dude, I think she likes you.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor Women's Basketball.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
We offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at bizchair.com to transform your business.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
It is the Mosley Show and Snow Edition. We've had a lot of folks across the country, especially in the Metroplex in Central Texas. A lot of folks, some people getting back into work today, not really happening here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But thank goodness Kevin Hoosier Hall is extremely capable and is able to produce from the house. And so the show must go on, and we decided to continue our efforts here. And thanks to everybody that's been a part of this one, and appreciate those of you watching us on Twitter, those of you trying to get back from Colorado. We got a group trying to do that, so friends, and so shout out to you if you guys are still listening as you make the long trip home from up there near Vale and Beaver Creek and whatever it is that chateau you guys have, the Hefton family. It's a beautiful one. And the lawns, be very careful as you make your way back, especially coming through Raton Pass down there. Okay, Kev, I did want to say today we got the news that the Buffalo Bills really, after going around and taking their quarterback with them, and which is kind of strange to have your quarterback in the interview process, asking questions. I mean, I guess some people would say that's what you should do. I don't know. It's kind of odd to me. But Joe Brady, I mean, they put out this, let's go talk to all these people. Let's put out a wide net, and then let's go hire someone that was already on our staff. I would say probably this is a Josh Allen inspired hire. This was someone that he's comfortable with and he wanted, and they said, Josh, you are our man. You are the guy we got to get behind. So we're going to give you what you need and what you want. And that is how Joe Brady became the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And these things, a lot of these head coaches, these young head coaches, have known nothing but success. Joe Brady was extremely successful as a young play caller at LSU. Of course, it helped to have Joe Burrow. He did that when he was like 28 or 29 years old. Suddenly, at age 31 or 32, he's the offensive coordinator and play caller for Matt Rule with the Carolina Panthers, and got fired. He got fired at that and kind of had to go back, start over, and became more of like a consultant. And then he was with the Bills as a quarterback's coach, and then he got to start calling plays, and he's kind of put his career back together again to the point where he could get hired as a head coach. And so Joe Brady, very, very creative. Again, these guys tend to have the most success when they're around great quarterbacks. Joe Burrow. Now you get him with Josh Allen. And again, I don't think this is a particularly inspired hire, but it's fine. And we'll see how he does commanding a locker room. You never know until you throw him in there. Mike McDaniel seemed like a brilliant young offensive mind. He seemed when he was when the Dolphins were putting up huge points with Tua, even though he had the weird personality and quirky, you're just like, okay, this guy works. And the minute they kind of fell apart and started losing a bunch of games, you're like, this guy's quirky. He's a weirdo. Get him out of here. And he has since landed on his feet. He is the new offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Kev, do we have that? Do we have that? Oh,
That's a favorite plane we're on. Huh. This is going to be bright.
So we're just doing like a quick intro. Everything will be running on camera. If you don't mind, this is basically just introduce yourself. I'm Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a vape question, is it?
No vape question.
You know how you guys roll. All right. What's up? Mike McDaniel, offensive coordinator for the Chargers.
That was the Twitter account, social media for the Chargers. That's the thing, man. Sometimes you got to, lean into the weird a little bit and quirky. And so in one fell swoop, this guy's going to go from failed head coach with the Dolphins to the guy who's going to help turn around the Chargers with Justin Herbert.
How do you, this seems such a departure stylistically from John Harbaugh, who loves the trenches, loves to slow the game down, to Mike McDaniel, who was known with the fastest, team with everything that they had at the Dolphins. How is this going to work?
You mean Jim Harbaugh?
Sorry, my bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of the Chargers, and his defensive coordinator. He lost to become the head coach of the Ravens. So this is it. It is interesting. I think what happens is you got to find a way to make it work, and you also know that he had if you think about it, he was with Sharon Moore when he was with the with Michigan. That was maybe a bit of an odd fit. McDaniel looks like even more of an odd fit coming in there calling plays, but he has been successful at play calling. He has a more dependable, although a quarterback that has struggled mightily in the playoffs, kind of has a similar young reputation that Dak Prescott, Tony Romo, and others have had. Guy that puts up some great numbers in the regular season and then does not perform well in the postseason. We shall see. But sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's okay to have a bit of a jolt from what the head coach wants to do to having a little bit different kind of a play caller. You asked that question, how does that work with the Jim Harbaugh? I'm sure, Kev, people were asking how Lane Kiffin was going to work with a guy like Nick Saban, a no-nonsense, tough, defensive-minded coach who wants to run the football, and then you get a guy who's more of a bit of like, the social media and the nonsense and a high-flying aerial attack. How is that going to work? Well, it worked pretty well. Worked pretty well till he went and took a head coaching job. And Nick said, get on out of here, because right now he was trying to get them ready for a national title game and work on his new coaching job at the same time. But these things sometimes can work. The yin and yang and by the way, Kev, like, I get what you're saying, but let's not act like Jim Harbaugh isn't quirky and weird himself. The guy who wears the same khaki coaching pants for every game and is just an odd character. I mean, it seems like maybe an odd character deserves another one, and that's what he gets in his offensive coordinator. So while he might have some conservative characteristics when it comes to like calling a game, how he wants a game to be managed, he is his own quirky personality. So maybe they'll work okay together. Now, the Jets have their offensive coordinator is out. Aaron Glenn continues to overhaul his coaching staff. He parted ways Tuesday with offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand after only one season. All right. The move comes 4 days after Glenn fired 7 assistant coaches, not counting defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes, who was dismissed with 3 games remaining in the season. That's really nice, isn't it? To make these guys wait and miss out on all these other jobs and to go, all right, now I'm ready to do this. 7 of you are gone. And okay, now I'm going to go ahead and release the offensive coordinator. Says it's unclear why Glenn, coming off a 3-14 season, waited to make these moves. He had multiple discussions with Engstrand about his role, a source said, with Glenn ultimately deciding to move on. Engstrand didn't expect it to unfold like this. When the season ended, he told friends he was excited about the offense's prospects in 2006. All right? They finished 29th in scoring and 29th in total yards. Jets must be Rooney Rule compliant, meaning they must interview at least 2 minority candidates. And, all these other teams that think they're set now have to wonder, well, I mean, the truth is, let's take, for example, the Cowboys denying the Eagles' request to talk to Clayton Adams. If the Jets came calling on Clayton Adams and he wanted to go do it, he could go there and be the play caller for the New York Jets. and the Cowboys could not block it because he would actually be, they blocked they were able to block the Eagles' decision because of the whole thing with Sirianni calls the plays there. Clayton Adams does not call the plays for the Cowboys. This would be a clear step up for him. Right now, the Cowboys are blocking his move to the Eagles. This all is an interesting thing, the way these things play out. So you think your staff is safe, and then Aaron Glenn just starts blowing everybody out. And today he blows out his offensive coordinator. So it's almost like this off-season of change never stops. I mean, meanwhile, the Jets were probably their staff and their scouts and everybody are in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. Wow. This is so interesting watching all of this play out in the NFL. So again, Cowboys are not safe. Other people will now start looking at their players. That's interesting. Also, Sean Payton today said at his news conference that Bo Nix had a pre-existing ankle condition that made a fracture inevitable. He broke a bone in his right ankle. That's interesting. He flew to Birmingham last week for the operation. So we'll have to see what the timeline is on this. I wanted to see what he said. On Tuesday, the Broncos provided the fullest accounting yet of Nix's injury, with Payton saying a pre-existing issue made the fracture, quote, a matter of when. Now you go about the rehab, proper orthotics, all those things. Said he has no concerns about Nix's health going forward, even though Nix has had several ankle operations going back to high school. It said he'll rehab his tail off and get ready and get back to being healthy. I think for someone who runs with the ball, I think he's done a pretty good job of protecting himself. Not all the time, but for the most part, he's done a pretty good job of sliding and understanding playing for another day. The GM said he thinks Nix is tracking to return in May when the Broncos begin organized team activities. I wouldn't have him anywhere near the field. Wow. That's interesting. And it said he was already back in the facility. And Peyton said, you have to know him. He's fidgety to begin with. He might have just been getting his scooter laps in. He was up there like an area he'd never been to be in department-wise. He's handling it like a pro. Man, I'm sure there's disappointment for him to have to watch on Sunday. So very, very interesting to see how all this plays out with Bo Nix. But I wanted to bring you the latest coming out of Denver. Now the Patriots and the Seahawks get ready for the Super Bowl. We'll do the same. And we will prepare you in the coming days. Seahawks, Patriots, and we'll continue to have these great guests. Thank you, Brazos Landing. It is the landing. We do it at the end of the show every day. The Bang Bang Shrimp, the chicken fried steak. It's unbelievable. Our great friends, the Lindsay family, and they do an incredible job. We'll be there soon for one of those live on-the-scene shows. Kevin has to basically break down a set every day. Every day he does his morning show, and so he'll do the same as we get ready to have a live show over at the Brazos Landing. We'll be very excited about that. And then we have all kinds of people like to show up to our live shows and get a look at that. All right. It is the Mosley Show. that's all we have for today, Tuesday. I'm going to get out and make my way around town and go see if anybody needs food or whatever. That sounds like a real look at me moment. I'm going to go save some people. No, I'm just going to go kind of just make sure all my neighbors are doing fine. We have elderly neighbors. I'll soon be one of those. All right. Thanks for everybody who's been a part of this one. Kev, excellent work by you today. And thanks to Rogue Media Network, Corey Dickman. Kev, have we heard from Brandon? Is he learning the ropes? One of our new employees, Kevin, I think he starts officially like February 9th. So I may be, you know how I can be. I can be a little bit demanding at times. And so I think young Brandon's learning that. But we're going to ramp him up, and then we're going to turn him loose. And until then, I will continue to beat up on Cam and Zach and the whole gang. Thank you, Kevin. Good work. Everybody stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. If you receive a call from someone claiming to be from a company, don't give them your personal information, ever. Unless you know them personally, hang up and call the company back on a verified number.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Everybody at Equalife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
I am obsessed with helping business owners increase their traffic and turn it into profit through the power of Pinterest marketing. It's this amazing platform where people are looking for ideas, inspiration. They have a problem and they're actively looking for a solution.
It's hard to find supplements that work. No, thank you. Plant-based supplements made from the Earth's most powerful plants for your immune health, gut health, workouts, and more. Find out more at auraorganic.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NordVPN.com.